Good morning, companies, Atlantic Canada, exporters, business development people, and everybody interested in Southeast Asia. We'll be delighted to talk to you today about the online environment and websites in Southeast Asia and how you can use online tools to grow your business and grow your sales, exports, brand in Southeast Asia. Let's get cracking right away. First, perhaps some quick introductions as well. My name is Susanna Hardy, and I'm Chief Content Officer for IBT Online. I'm delighted to be here today, and I'm joined by my colleague, Aaron Smith, who is the Program Manager for the CBDC. And we're going to be talking a lot about Southeast Asia, both the marketing side, the websites, and so on. My slides are a little bit slow at the moment. I'm sorry about that. They should speed up soon. So let's also talk, just quickly introduce us as a company. I work for a company called IBT Online. IBT Online is a US company, but we are delighted to be working with the Atlantic provinces in Canada to bring you the online global program for websites and online marketing. We have been around for quite a long time and are specializing really in international websites and something called localization and work across the globe. So I have colleagues in Europe, colleagues in the States, the Middle East and Asia. And we have been chosen by, or are working with the Atlantic provinces to give you webinars and information about the different countries and their online environments. Today, we're going to be talking about Southeast Asia. First, I'm going to give you a very brief overview of the sort of offline and online environments, and maybe just highlight a couple of major countries, particularly things like Indonesia, Vietnam are particularly interesting countries right now for their online environments. Then we're going to talk about how websites look and feel and act and are optimized in the Southeast Asian markets, what you have to do to make sure that you are really found in the markets and that Google and the search engines can really find you and appreciate you. Then we're going to talk briefly also about social media in Southeast Asia. It's a very, very important market, an important part of any strategy, particularly in Southeast Asia, a very, very reactive market on social media. Very good way of growing your business and connecting with your prospects. Then finally, sort of some summaries, takeaways, and action points. But I'm going to start really with just talking very briefly also about some of the things and some of the help that Atlantic Canada companies can get from us, but also from your provinces. We have a page on our website just dedicated to the Atlantic provinces, which helps gather up all the information that we have for you. So you'll find access to all of these webinars, as well as infographics, white books, white papers, blogs, and so on, to help you navigate the online world, the international online world. So that's whether it's about marketing or the websites themselves. So there's dedicated resources on our website. And you can find that. But we were really struck how all of the provinces, the Atlantic provinces, really came together and thought, one of the major things that can help our companies, not just in times of pandemic, but beyond, is really to make sure that they have really good online tools that can help them really expand and grow their export businesses. For that, and that's included obviously with the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency as well. So as I said, there's a lot of things that you can get from our website, as well as access to all of the webinars. We've done 9 webinars about different markets. That's online in the USA, online e-commerce. We talked about e-commerce. We talked about online marketing, online in Europe, online in Japan. And the very introductory one, website localization, which really talks about why you need to sort of modify and what changes you need to make on your website to be found and to be understood and to do business globally using your website and your online marketing site. I'm also now turn quickly just to Erin to say hi and introduce herself and give you some contact details as well. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Susanna. So hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Erin Smith. I'm the Executive Director of the Nova Scotia Association CBDCs, and I'm the delivery agent for the project that's hosting these webinars. The funding support for this project is made possible through the Atlantic Trade and Investment Growth Agreement. This is a partnership of ACOA and the 4 Atlantic provincial governments. Government has made it a priority to help companies get access to the help that they need to export online. And we're going to provide you with a list of contacts of those folks in each region at the end of the webinar. I encourage you to connect with them to learn more about other programs and services that are available. And if you missed that slide or you're not sure who to connect with, you can also reach out to me. I'd be happy to help. My contact information is on the screen. Google knows where to find me as well. So thanks, Susanna. Let's learn a little bit about Southeast Asia.
Thank you very much, Erin. Right. I think the slides are beginning to behave a bit better, which is a relief. Right, let's just dive straight in and talk about Southeast Asia. I wanted just to set, just one slide about some of the offline sides and some of the things that really strike us most when we're looking at the online world for Southeast Asia. First of all, the size of it. It stretches from Papua New Guinea to Burma, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia. So there's a lot of different countries. Thailand. There's a lot of different countries that includes. It is the world's fastest growing internet adoption at the moment. So there are countries that are seeing double-digit, in strong double-digit take-up of the internet there. It is extremely mobile, so mobile-enabled. Anything you do on the web, via the web in these markets needs to be mobile first. You need to make sure that your website is built for mobile, for your mobile phone. People use their mobile phone in a much more proactive way than they would, say, for example, in Canada. It's very much a business tool. Social media is also incredibly important, probably, and again, used more for business and more for communication than your average person in Canada. So social media is something that where you get the news from, where you get views, where you actually get real information. So you rely on social media in a different way than you'd be used to, for example, if you're sitting in Atlantic provinces. It's also an incredibly young population in Southeast Asia, sort of the average age. We'll get to that, but that also means that it's sort of a circle because because they're young, they are more mobile friendly, they're more involved in social media, they're early adopters of technology. Means also that they throw technology out quickly, so they'll skip from one platform to another quickly, and we'll see again how that can work in terms of your strategies when you're looking at Southeast Asia. On the downside, there are some real infrastructure issues and real infrastructure challenges. I think those infrastructure challenges, whether they're for roads to electricity to the public transport, that also kind of reinforces the online side. Since people then rely on the internet, and even the internet though is sometimes very patchy. I want to show you also just a slide about internet penetration by region. It's you can see in North America, internet penetration in Canada, for example, is pretty well 90%. In the US, it's sort of 87%. So if that's the thing you expect to go everywhere and have access to the internet. Southeast Asia, it's 66% is the average internet penetration rate, and it's very, very much concentrated in the cities for that. So, but it is rolling out fast, and one of the biggest priorities for all the governments there is internet access. It's seen as the biggest single enabler for those markets across the entire region. And this next one I wanted then to point out sort of social media use. as a percentage of the population. And again, if you look at sort of North America, it's at like 69%, so an average of 69% of people on social media and total population. Again, in Southeast Asia, looking at 65%, so pretty similar. So even if you have a lower penetration rate, that just really shows you how, of the internet, it really shows you how strong social media is across those regions. And then this third graph really just about mobile connectivity. So this is the number of mobile connections compared to the total population. So in North America, you've got 106%. So there's a little bit more mobile phones, mobile connections than there are people. So some people have 2 phones or two SIM cards. Much of the world is above 100%. In Southeast Asia, that's 135% and growing fast. So many people have 2 mobile connections. And this just sort of reinforces how mobile friendly this market is, mobile first market this is. I want to focus also on a couple of the individual countries, just really focusing on 2. The first, Indonesia. Really, I want to focus on this partly because it's just such a large market, very fast developing market, active. This is, but also quite a typical one. So mobile phone connections, 124%. So a fifth of the people have 2 mobile phone connections in Indonesia, and as I said, growing fast. Internet penetration rate 64%, so atypical of the region. Social media, 60%. So pretty well everybody who's on the internet is on social media as well. And then if we look a little bit more into how they're using it, look at that number of the average daily time spent using the internet, 8 hours a day. So 8 hours a day, 65% of the population of Indonesia is online 8 hours a day. That just shows you how strong this is as something that you do for work or for your leisure, but it's also how you find information. It's how you do anything in these countries. And then also just look at the growth rates of that. The annual growth rate in the number of internet users in Indonesia is up 17% last year, sorry, in 2020. So that's 25 million people joined the internet for the first time in Indonesia. So again, a very strong market for that. So that's sort of pretty typical throughout much of Southeast Asia. And then just this last thing, really just about social media, social media behaviors. As I said, if they're on the internet for 8 hours, they're on in total 3.5 hours of that is spent on social media. So social media is not just a way of connecting with family and friends. It's a way of very much also, people will use social media like a search engine. So you go on to Facebook to find where's the best place to buy jeans today, or where should I go to have dinner, or something like that. You would go, how do I do this? You go to Facebook, you go to YouTube, and that also accounts for the social media things. Just looking then finally at Facebook. Facebook is one of the largest, is massive in Indonesia. It has a real, not a stranglehold, but certainly a dominant position across the Southeast Asia, but especially in places like Indonesia. I said 3.5 hours spent on social media. The majority of that was on Facebook. Now, just talking, switching to another market, just Vietnam. Similarly, you'll see the same trends for Vietnam. So, out of 97 million people, you've got 150 million mobile phone connections. So 150%, more than the population. So 50% of the population of Vietnam has 2 mobile phones or 2 mobile phone connections. That of the internet penetration rate of 70%, pretty well everyone's on social media as well. So very much what you saw in Indonesia, and typically for a typical Southeast Asian country. If you look again at the internet use, 6.5 hours spent on the internet, so not quite as much as their Indonesian colleagues, but still a good length of time. And again, sort of double-digit, a 10% growth in internet use. And there's something quite interesting as well on Vietnam. It's one of the few countries that has its own homegrown chatting platform. It's called Zalo, and actually it's spread to other countries in Southeast Asia. It was started in 2012 and has about an 80% market share. And it's the WhatsApp, as it were, of Vietnam, and everybody uses it in Vietnam. It's called Zalo. It has spread to many other markets across Southeast Asia. Thailand uses it a lot, for example. Even in Korea, it's used a lot. And so Zalo is one of the big platforms that you would want to hook on to if you were looking at the Vietnam market. And then just a little thing as well. It is a pretty cheap country in which to purchase mobile data. So it's 1 gigabyte for 30 days is in 4 cents, or not even 4 cents, sorry, 0.04 US cents. So again, very, very cheap on data, and that reflects as well this whole move towards or liking of mobile data. Now let's talk about the websites and what they look like in Southeast Asia. What would you as a Canadian exporter expect to see, and what you should take into account when you're looking to build a Southeast Asian website? The first thing is that Google is absolutely supreme. There is no real competition, and it's across all the markets. Google has over 90% market share across all the markets in Southeast Asia. The only real contester that you'll find growing is the China search engine Baidu, who's starting to nibble away at some of that market share in some of those markets, particularly by adding different apps to their or making it cheaper to add apps to their to websites and things like that. So they're trying to gain market share, but at the moment it's very much still Google. So if we dive down a bit into that, is where like I said, Google reigns supreme. On the social media side, however, 12 out of the top 20 social media apps are from China and basically run by Baidu. So although Google is still very much the search engine, on the social media apps, you'll find that it's dominated by the Chinese ones too. One point that you'll want to know is, what about English? What about English in Southeast Asia? A lot of these countries have English as a second language. So, for some companies, we'll build them a Southeast Asian website in English. The English, however, is a little bit different, and we would really recommend that if you are looking at using English as a base language for your Southeast Asian websites, you modify and be very careful about your keywords and about the level, as it were, of English. There's also, I gave an example here of postpone or prepone, something I've never heard of before, but apparently used frequently in some of the markets. I was talking to a client in Southeast Asia, and I said, well, we don't want to postpone that meeting, we can bring it forward. And they said, well, you mean we can prepone it? What is prepone? Yeah, it's it's the opposite of postpone. It's not a word I knew before. So they do have different terms, different idioms, and most of all, you need to be really careful about your keywords. They can be very, very different when you're looking at a Southeast Asian market versus your Canadian market for that. This current, what we're talking about today is Southeast Asia, but it's hard not to talk about India in Southeast Asia because it is part of Southeast Asia, but it's such a different market that I'm really just going to give it a cursory glance. It's such a vast market; it would take over the entire webinar. So just sort of giving it a quick one page sort of thing. just to say it is its own market, and it is a very, very specific market dominated also by Google, but with value more like a 30% market share. And it is a very, very specific market. Don't think it's the same as the Southeast Asian markets. It needs to be taken quite separately from that. So when you are looking at a Southeast Asian website build, really target Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam. You might get some drift in from India and Indian prospect clients, but you really, if you are looking at India as a client, as a potential export market, have your dedicated Indian website. I would not merge the two. One of the major things that you're going to look at if you're building a website for Southeast Asia is your top-level domain name. And this is the equivalent of your .ca, for example, for your Canadian website. And it really tells Google right away which market you're looking at. If you are targeting the Vietnam market, you need to have a .vn, and that will immediately say to Google, okay, I need to go to Vietnam for that. The problem is that a lot of those names are restricted, which means, you have to have, you have to have a Vietnam subsidiary, or you have to have a residency or a local telephone number and so on. But unlike some parts of the world, for example, China, which is very strict on those restrictions, we have found, in fact, that a lot of those countries, you can push a little bit and it's fine. So they're not too strict. It's not too onerous. It is possible to get. And if you are having problems getting the like .id or .vn or .sg for Singapore, there are alternatives and subdomains that work quite well too. Another point that's, I guess, obvious, but really you have to take into account very carefully when you're looking at Southeast Asian websites is the characters. So similar to sort of, when you're building a Japan or a Korean or a Chinese website, the characters are much shorter than like your English word. And they sit differently on the page. They can affect, for example, your design. That's one point. The second point is that not all content management systems, which is the software that people build websites on, accept all the different types of characters, and not all fonts either. So you need to be careful about which font it is, whether that affects your design, and making sure that your content management system accepts, for example, Vietnamese. In this case, on your slide is a Vietnam website. It accepts Vietnamese characters. Not all content management systems do. So a word of warning on that. As I said, it will affect as well your design because there are different lengths and different sizes for that. Also, obviously, when you have the different characters, then you have to make sure that you actually can read them. So, if you put them in bold, then you need to make sure that they are still readable, which is why you'll see very often, in this case, in the example that I'm going to show you here, they are in bold and it works. But if you put them, if it's too small or whatever, or if it's on a mobile phone, that's why you'll often see characters done in different colors rather than bolded. It just makes it easier to read. For that. Finally, the last example of this, typical for characters, is just when you see things like in a footer, you'll see, there's in this case a Florida company for the Vietnam site. All the social media links are clearly visible, and all the local numbers are very visible as well. The Southeast Asian markets are absolutely a buzz of e-commerce, and it is a very dynamic, quite competitive environment for e-commerce. And there's a lot of local or homegrown e-commerce platforms and heroes. So you'll have your Amazons and your Alibabas, but there'll be a lot of other ones too. Some of them you're like, oh, who is that? Many of them, in fact, there's been a lot of consolidation in that sector. Many of them have now been bought So you'll find that in fact behind Flipkart or so there might be a Walmart, or behind Myntra there might be an Alibaba behind it. But they keep that that local name because really these are the local heroes and the ones that people know about. The online payment system is also quite different and can be a little bit of a challenge if you are looking at e-commerce in these areas. We would really recommend invest in the payment gateways for that. It's really important because some of them are poor and function badly. So make sure that you're choosing the right ones. Paytm is good. Stripe even has some good ones in Southeast Asia. Big challenge as well on e-commerce is obviously deliveries and the logistics. If you just think of of what Indonesia looks like, how many islands make up Indonesia, just imagine doing e-commerce in there. A last word then before we talk about online marketing. The last word about this for your websites: digital compliance. There is a really quite quick move shift going on from the previous sort of total wild west of the internet that used to be characterized in Southeast Asia. It is quickly turning into a more regulated and digitally compliant region. I think too many people got burnt, too many fake, too many counterfeit, too much hacking, and a recognition as well of the value of privacy and the value of data. So it is moving towards full data protection. What you would be similar, the leader of that pack in that region is Korea. But I think you'll see that all the countries are moving increasingly towards digital compliance. If you do have a website in Southeast Asia, it is worth having at least a minimum of cookie policies and privacy policies, and encryption, so HTTPS, SSL certificates for the compliance and security of your website. For that. All right, now let's talk a little bit about social media and how you can talk to and engage with your prospects and talk to them over in the region, which is a very vibrant region, as we said earlier, for social media use. So I wanted to highlight the social media use versus the total population by region. This is something we talked about earlier in the introductory slides. We said that in social media usage, for example, in North America, in Canada and the USA, is about sort of 70%. So 70% of people who are on the internet use some form of social media. And we said only about 60% penetration rate in the total of Southeast Asia for internet, but 63%, so much closer to your North American level, are on social media. So it really is, and we looked at the times as well. If you remember, for Indonesia, 3.5 hours a day on social media. So it really is an embedded part of your daily use. And I'm going to sort of highlight that the interaction people have in Southeast Asia, not just consumers but businesses, so even B2B, will use social media in a way that is more dynamic than, for example, you would find in for many Canadians. So it's something that you need to take on board and factor into any kind of strategy you're going to have for Southeast Asia. So if you're thinking about Southeast Asia and a website, think automatically, absolutely right from the start, how am I going to use my social media in there? And it can be the same platforms. You can use it. Facebook is strong there, but you need to think from the start of a social media strategy for that region. So otherwise, people, that's how people want to talk to you. They do not want to pick up the phone. The landlines don't always work. What they want to do is connect with you on your social media. I guess part of that also is just what I alluded to before, is sort of this very young population. And this, it's often called sort of Southeast Asia has sort of an age dividend. I believe it's sort of the youngest region in the world at the moment. The majority of the population of Southeast Asia is below the age of 35, which is an amazing thought. So more than 50% of the population is below the age of 35. So they are quick adopters. They are digital natives. They grew up with the internet. They expect the internet to be there increasingly, despite the fact that you might have poor infrastructure. They expect to find you as a company and engage with you as a company through the internet on their mobile phone. So that's just putting that out there. There's quite a big battle, as it were, between Facebook and YouTube in Southeast Asia. Facebook was there first. The graph here that I'm showing on the right-hand side shows you Facebook users in India, but it's very similar throughout the rest of Southeast, other countries in Southeast Asia. So Facebook was there first, and it's one of the largest single markets. India, for example, is one of Facebook's largest markets for that. But YouTube is fast outpacing in terms of a place where people go and use YouTube and engage with YouTube. YouTube, remember, is owned by Google, and Google, in a way to reinforce its market share and to sort of give some pushback against some of the Chinese social media platforms that are coming in. It's really ramped up its YouTube marketing and YouTube availability in these markets. Vietnam, for example, is YouTube's 5th largest market. Vietnam, not a big country, 5th largest in the world for YouTube watching and uploading. And as I said, YouTube is used like a search engine. So people don't just go to sort of, Firefox or Google or whatever to find things. They go on YouTube and say, what's the best lobster from Canada that I can buy? And they'll go onto YouTube to find that. Or how can I find the best, whatever it is, or how can I do this? And they'll go to YouTube for that. So having a YouTube strategy is really fantastic for this region. Right, I'm just going to sort of wrap up now. I've done the entire Southeast Asia in under an hour, which was the point. So I guess really from our point of view, we really sort of wanted to encourage Atlantic Canadian companies, to get online business development tools. What are online business development tools? It's your website and your online marketing. That's all they are. And with good, strong websites and good, strong social media marketing, you can really reach out to the world. You can make the world your oyster so that your clients, your prospects, your suppliers, they will all search for you online in their own local environment. So if you think that you have customers out there in Vietnam or Malaysia or Thailand or something, think of how they would do business. Make it easy for them to find you. Make it easy for them to engage with you. It doesn't have to be in a different language. It can still be actually in English, as long as they can be found, as long as you can be found in those markets. Southeast Asia is one of the few areas where geographic areas in the world where it's still okay and useful to have English language websites targeting those markets. It's still acceptable for them. If you can't do the full Thai or Vietnamese or Indonesian translations. So for us to get found, to be understood, to do business, localize your websites and get online marketing. There is a lot of dedicated resources for you, not least these webinars that we're putting on now, and that you can download them, share them, think about them, think about what is useful for your company, and where to focus your resources on. If we can be of any help, reach out to us. We're always open to have a chat, see if we can help you. And as I said, there's a lot of resources on our website that you can download for free about markets, about strategies, online marketing or whatever. And that's also where you can find all the previous webinars, as well as on the on Erin's pages. Erin mentioned earlier that there's a list of contacts for you. Again, reach out to people. You know, if you've got questions and you're based in PEI, then reach out to Cara. If you're in Newfoundland and Labrador, then Kevin is there to help you. You know, you guys in Atlantic Canada really benefits from tremendously dynamic and willing and open economic development agencies there to help you. Not least the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency. And if you can't find them, then as Erin said, you can always Google Erin, find her that way for that. So yeah, reach out to your provinces, reach out to us if you have any specific questions, and you know, take the next step, make the internet work for you. Get your teams together, decide if this is the right thing for you to do, and if we can be of any help, then please do get in touch. With that, just to say thank you again to Erin and to the Atlantic Canada community for allowing us to be here and talk a bit about Southeast Asia. And slides finally coming up. Thank you all very much. Have a great rest of the day, and see you all soon. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.